You've probably been studying wrong your entire life and nobody ever told you. Think about it. Some students study for just 2 hours and somehow remember everything, while the rest of us spend an entire evening staring at our notes only to forget them the second the exam starts. Because honestly, that used to be my entire personality. I would sit down at my desk, make a whole production out of it, breathing in the aroma of my iced coffee, arranging my cute stationery like an interior designer, making a 10-step productivity plan, color coding my notes, and somehow still end up learning absolutely nothing. Half the time, I was just aggressively rewriting my notes in cursive just to feel like a high-functioning member of society. And the worst part is that it actually looks productive. Like, wow, look at me highlighting this entire page in 6 different neon colors, as if the fluorescent pink marker itself is magically going to walk into the exam hall and pass the test for me. Meanwhile, there's always that one suspiciously quiet student who studies for less time than everyone else, definitely gets 8 hours of sleep, and still pulls off straight A's. I used to think it was witchcraft. But recently, I started deep diving into Chinese study methods because I kept seeing these videos of students studying with a terrifying, almost military level of discipline. But the more I researched, the more I realized something that comforted my soul. Chinese students aren't magically born with superior brains. Most of them just study in a way that is completely alien to the average student. Honestly, looking at their methods made me realize that a lot of us are accidentally studying in the most emotionally exhausting, least effective way possible. Chinese students focus heavily on active learning instead of passive learning. Passive learning is basically the illusion of studying, what most of us do without even realizing we're doing it. It's rereading notes over and over until the words look like shapes, watching recorded lectures while mentally planning your future wedding to a celebrity, or highlighting entire paragraphs like every single sentence is the chosen one. It feels productive because technically your eyeballs are moving across the page, but your brain is essentially on airplane mode. It's not working hard enough to actually store anything long term. Instead of that torture, they use active recall, which basically means violently forcing your brain to retrieve information before you let it see the answer. So, instead of rereading your biology chapter 5 times in a row, hoping photosynthesis will spiritually enter your bloodstream through osmosis, you close the notebook and aggressively test yourself first. For example, say you just finished studying the digestive system. Instead of giving in to the urge to reread the whole topic to feel safe, close the book. Sit there, look at the wall, and try explaining the entire process out loud from memory, like you're gossip channeling it to your best friend, or like you're teaching a very confused toddler. Then, and only then, do you open the book to check what details you completely blanked on. Apparently, that exact, painful mental struggle to remember something is the secret sauce that strengthens the neural pathways in your memory. Which, honestly, feels rude. Like, why does learning have to involve psychological suffering? But seriously, it works a million times better than just passively staring at your notebook, hoping for a miracle. Another thing that blew my mind is that these top students almost never study vaguely. Most of us sit down at our desks, sigh deeply, and say something like, "Okay, today I'm going to study chemistry." Okay, but what does that even mean? That is so broad. Your brain hears that vague threat and immediately wants to pack its bags and disappear forever. Chinese students usually approach a study session with microscopic, ultra-specific goals. They don't just say, "I'm going to study chemistry." They say, "I'm going to master balancing chemical equations, complete exactly 15 practice questions, and review every mistake I made yesterday." Their study sessions have a clear boundary, a measurable goal, and a structure. This makes it incredibly easy for your brain to actually focus because it knows there is a literal finish line in sight. So, instead of making these giant, aggressively unrealistic to-do lists that only serve to make you panic emotionally and open TikTok, try planning your sessions with strict parameters. Tell yourself, "I am going to revise Chapter 3 for exactly 20 minutes, solve 10 practice questions, and then test myself without looking at my notes." Suddenly, the weight feels way smaller because your brain actually knows its exact job description for the next hour. Another really fascinating thing Chinese students do is reviewing information right at the exact moment before they completely forget it. This is called spaced repetition. It sounds very complicated, very scientific, and very intimidating, but the concept is actually beautifully simple. Instead of revising a topic once and never touching it again until the night before the final exam when you're crying on the floor, they review it in small, calculated doses over time. So the timeline looks like this. You learn a heavy topic today. Instead of ignoring it for a month, you review it quickly tomorrow for just 10 minutes. Then you test yourself again a few days later, and then you do one quick final check next week. Apparently, spacing it out like this acts like a save button, moving the information from your temporary short-term memory straight into your long-term vault. This honestly explains why some students look weirdly, deeply calm during exams, while the rest of us are fighting for our literal survival internally. Their brains are looking at familiar information they've seen multiple times, instead of trying to recall a random fact for the very first time under intense academic pressure. By the way, if you're loving these tips and feeling your academic comeback arc starting, don't forget to drop a like on this video and hit that subscribe button for more study hacks that will actually save your GPA. Now, can we please have a serious conversation about mistake notebooks? Because discovering this might genuinely be the smartest study habit I have ever encountered. Most average students get a question wrong on a quiz, feel a wave of shame, and immediately slide the paper away, pretending the mistake never happened for emotional protection. We just want peace. Chinese students do the exact polar opposite. A lot of them keep a dedicated notebook exclusively for their failures. They will write down the exact question they got wrong, analyze the precise reason why they messed it up, and write down the correct, flawless method to solve it next time. It sounds almost too simple, but it is wildly effective. True improvement doesn't come from repeatedly reading things you're already good at just to boost your ego. It comes from aggressively fixing your weaknesses. So if you're someone who constantly makes silly calculation errors in math, or randomly forgets specific formulas in physics, instead of getting annoyed, slamming the book, and moving on, write them down in your mistake graveyard. Then make it a rule to review only that notebook once a week. You will start noticing your own toxic patterns incredibly fast. You'll realize, oh, I rush my calculations when I get nervous, or, oh, I always misread this one specific type of wording. That awareness alone will skyrocket your grades way faster than just blindly studying harder for 10 hours. Let's be completely honest with ourselves for a second. Most of us are not actually studying when we say we are studying. We are sitting at a desk, looking at a textbook, while simultaneously checking notifications, replying to 3 group chats, opening TikTok for just 1 second, and waking up an hour later, reorganizing our highlighters, drinking coffee, and having a minor existential crisis about our future careers all at the same time. We call that a study session. Meanwhile, top students study in highly focused, uninterrupted blocks. Apparently, even 30 minutes of deep, uninterrupted focus is statistically more effective than 3 hours of heavily distracted studying, which honestly explains my entire high school transcript. So here is one brutally simple rule you need to try. Put your phone in an entirely different room for just 30 minutes while you crush one clear task. Notice I said another room. Not right beside you, not face down on the desk, not just keeping it out for calculator purposes. Another room entirely. Your brain genuinely cannot achieve deep, analytical focus if it is subconsciously expecting a hit of cheap dopamine every 8 seconds from a notification lighting up. Give yourself a break from the screen. Honestly, I think the single biggest takeaway I got from researching these intense study methods is that intelligence is way less permanent than we've been led to believe. A lot of students genuinely walk around believing they are just inherently bad at studying, when in reality, the actual truth is that nobody ever bothered to teach them how to learn properly. If your study methods are fundamentally ineffective, of course studying is going to feel like an exhausting uphill battle. Of course you're going to feel left behind all the time. But the magic happens once you stop relying completely on fleeting motivation. Because, let's face it, motivation disappears the second you open a textbook. Once you officially make the switch from passive, lazy studying to high-effort active learning, and once you build strict systems, instead of waiting to magically wake up disciplined overnight, studying genuinely becomes easier. Not easy, let's not lie to ourselves, but significantly easier. At the end of the day, these top students are not successful because they are emotionless academic robots who haven't experienced a drop of joy since middle school. They are successful simply because they built routines that are strong enough to carry them through even on their absolute worst, lowest energy days. And that is a system that literally anyone watching this can learn to do. So if you survived this entire video and made it all the way to the end, comment the phrase, "study smarter, not harder," right now so I know who the real ones are who stayed till the very end. See you in the next video.